Hey, so it's been a long time coming. I've been saying I'm going to do a story time for the longest time, and I haven't done it because I've been scared. However, it's a new year, it's a new day. I'm a new person. I'm trying to step out on faith and realize that I need to build a community of people that I feel, are a part of the same tribe that I'm from. So, in doing so, I need to share this portion of my life to connect with the right community. And if this story that I'm going to tell within these parts, this series, if it relates to you or if you feel so compelled to share your story, then hopefully we can build a community and grow from it. I'm going to title this story time, and every, sequence that I have, I'm going to put the same title on it. But I'm going to title this story time, How I Fell for a Homeless Man. That's exactly what happened. So I'm going to get straight into it. Now, keep in mind, I'm not going to use the right name for this person or any people that are included in this story because I want to protect my safety and my security. People that I talk about, I'm not trying to bring harm to them and I'm not trying to expose them. I'm just literally talking about my story, so there can be no repercussions to me. So, let's go back a couple of years. And it only lasted for a little bit of time. So going back a couple of years, a lot actually, a bunch of years. We're gonna say that. I no longer have communication with this person. They are not a part of my life, to a certain extent, but they're not a part of my life. So there's no need for me to watch my back anymore because I'm not scared. So we're gonna call this person Daniel. Daniel was a person who was kind of like a guy that preyed on the weak. So I used to be a salon professional and I lived in Maryland at the time. And this guy, Daniel, would always come up to the salon and he knew people that worked there. So he was getting his hair done. He had hair and he was always getting his locks retwisted. And I was only his stylist like one time. But at the time, I was interested in women, and he was interested in me, but I didn't give him the time of day because I'm a faithful person. So I wasn't trying to cheat on my ex-girlfriend at the time to give him a chance. And at the time, he wasn't even my type. So there was nothing for us to have communication about other than getting his hair done. So we couldn't have a real conversation, but he was going to my sister stylist and co-worker and got his hair done by her. I didn't know that she was this type of person, but we're gonna call her Stacy. Stacy and Daniel would have conversations about me and would say, Jasmine doesn't know what she wants, come back later. I'll put you on. I'll I was being vetted and I was being coerced to give him a chance because it benefited Stacy. So this guy would come up there and I didn't know he wasn't paying for his hair to get done, but since he was he partaked in, the herbal essence, and she did too, then they figured, well, if you give me this, then I'll do your hair. So that was that. I saw him around, didn't think anything of it. I didn't look twice at him. And I partaked in herbal essence as well, but I did it sparingly and I was very smart and very quiet. And back then, in that day, I was like, I guess I was a hot commodity. Everybody wanted me in the salon. Every time a guy came up there, they wanted to know who I was. So it was nothing for me to hear that, oh, there's a client here that likes you, because I heard it often. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but toot toot. I looked good back then. I was not a mom at the time and I had a better looking body. So I commended him for that. He had good taste. So fast forward to like a year later or so, I got a call on the salon phone and Stacy had already stopped working there. She got fired. She was just a person who did locks and braids. She didn't have her license, and me and her fell out because she and her friends stole money from me after I was hanging out with them one day. But we were no longer friends. We weren't friends to begin with. I didn't realize that she was preying on my downfall because I was too hopeful that I had a person who I could connect with. So Stacy was out the door probably like a few, not even a year later, some months later. This guy was calling the salon phone and I answered because our receptionist wasn't there. So he called in and he's like, hey, this is, he didn't say his real name. He said his name was Keith. And he said, hey, this is Keith. I need to get my hair done. How much do you guys charge for locks? And I thought he was a new client that never been there before because he sounded like he knew nothing about our business. So I was like, yeah, we charge $55 for locks. If you have longer hair, it's an extra $25. If you have 2-strand twist or like a design that you want, then we'll determine how much it's going to cost when we see your hair. So we need you to come in. And he's like, okay, I'm here. I'm outside. So he comes in about 5 minutes later. The first thing I smell is the lovely smell of herbal essences. And at the time I was like, I don't care if you are Steve Urkel, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Biden. If you got that smell on you, then we could connect in some kind of way. Because I like that, you like that, let's get it done. But I didn't tell him that, and I didn't go around parading that I was into smoking. But I was. So he came in and he asked for me. I said, my name is Jasmine. I was the person you talked to on the phone. Come on back, let's get you started. So we didn't really have a big consultation in the beginning. He was just like, I just need my hair washed and retwisted. I said, cool, that's just $55, no big deal. My supervisor the owner, she set me up and was like, okay, we'll block off your schedule for this time to this time because that's how long it'll take. I take him to the back sink. We start chit-chatting. And I'm like, you smell really good. And I wasn't flirting with him. I was legit just talking about the smell of herbal essence. So I was like, oh, you smell real good. I was like, I smell like that sometimes too. And that was just a code word for me saying, oh, I know you smoke. I smoke too. And then he was like, oh, for real? I'm gonna go do this after I get out of here. What are you doing later? I was like, I don't know. He was like, oh, what are you doing later? I was like, nothing. Now, mind you, at the time, I was single. I was a single dingle girl, and I didn't have any obligation to anybody and nobody's loyalty. I was working about 45 minutes away from the place that I hung out frequently. And around this time, it was October, so it was closer to Halloween. And I think that night, it was the day before Halloween or something. And he asked me if I had plans, and I was like, no, I'm not doing anything later. But me and my new coworker, which was another braider, she was fairly new. I was like, oh, well, you can come back later and we can like link up after and I can see what you got and then you can see what I got and then we can match each other on this herbal essence. So that was the plan. We get to chit-chatting while I'm doing his hair, and then I didn't know, and it didn't click in my head that he was somebody that had already saw interest in me months and months before. He was the same guy that was trying to get at me, and he didn't present that when he first got in the chair. It wasn't until about maybe like 20 minutes after the hairstyle was already started and I was already retwisting his hair, and I didn't 2-strand twist his hair. I started retwisting it first, and I asked him how he wanted his hair to be done. So he was like, oh, I want to get 2 strands. I'm like, okay, that's going to be a little extra, but I'll try to knock a little bit down for you because, you're cool and it is my business. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a 1099 employee. So this is my business. I can knock it down if I want to. I didn't knock it down much, but I was like, okay, it's going to be like $60. He was like, okay, cool. So we get done doing his hair. We already decided that we're going to link up after. I said, you can take my card and this is my number on it. You get to take me up when you're back around. He was like, all right. So my day goes on and then it's time for him to pay. He goes to the counter. I'm like, okay, it's going to be $60. I wrote him the ticket and he was like, oh, I forgot. I didn't know it was going to be this much. I didn't bring all my money. Shoot, let me go to my car. He goes to his car and I didn't watch him go out. I was like, he said he's going to meet up later. So it can't be too much he's going to do and it can't be too many places he's going to go because I got to meet up with him later. So why would he set me up? He didn't come back. He texted me and was like, dang, I got to run to the bank, but I'll get it to you later. This man walked out without paying. I didn't follow him. I was very passive aggressive. I always trusted the universe. I said, oh, he's not playing me. He's going to come back. Never paid. Fast forward to the rest of the day, I get my other clientele done. He texted me and was like, hey, what time do you get off? I'll be around there around 7 o'clock. Cool, I'll be ready too. I went to my person that I got my stuff from, got in my car, drove, and I was like, hey, where do you want to meet up at? He was like, let's meet up back at the salon. We come back to the salon and he's already parked there. It didn't dawn on me that I'm like, this dude probably was here the whole time. He had a bunch of stuff in his car and I'm like, oh dang, he's kind of messy, but we could smoke in his car, I guess. So So me and my coworker decide to get in his car, and he's in there by himself. And he's like, "Oh, I got another friend pulling up real quick." So another guy pulls up in a nicer car. So rewind, the car that he was in was like a very old modeled, rusted, nothing special type of car. But I didn't, everybody to each his own. You get what you can get. So I didn't judge him for that. But his friend pulled up in a much nicer car than what I had and what he had. He hops out of his car and gets into Daniel's car, into the back seat. He tells me to sit in the front seat with him while he's in the driver's seat, and he tells my coworker girl to sit in the back seat. They had to move all this stuff out of the way so that they could sit in there. I'm like, dang, why we gotta sit in this car? I got a house. Let's go to the house and smoke there. But I didn't press that too much. And I didn't think about it. His gas tank was on E. But we sat in the car, we smoked, we chit-chatted, and he started talking about all these compliments that he was giving to me. And I'm just like, okay, you're being a little bit too pushy, but thank you. And if you know about herbal essence, when you're in a certain mode and when you hit a certain height, then a lot of things that you would care about originally really don't matter anymore. You just start going with the flow of things. So you don't pay attention to a bunch of stuff, or you're over focused on a bunch of stuff. Me, I was kind of in between. He was complimenting my hands, talking about how my hands look really nice. And I'm like, nobody ever compliments a person on hands. Why in the hell are you talking about my hands? Out of all things, that's, darn well that's not what you're interested in. But I didn't play anything into it. We smoke, we get out. I end up going home. He texts me later and it's like, we should do this again. I'm like, sure. I go all the way out to DC to go to an event every couple of nights, to go meet up at a studio with a bunch of people who are very artistic, because I'm artistic. I'm a dancer. Why don't you meet me out there? Tomorrow's Halloween. You can come vibe out for the Halloween party. It's free. You can bring your herbal essence, and they do that often. They don't make that the highlight of the night, but they're very much into it. You should swing by. So he's like, all right, cool. So me and my roommate try to link up later, but the girl that I worked with was the person that I ended up taking. So I'm already there. It's the next day. I go about my day, but I'm already at the place in DC at the studio, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's gonna come by later. He comes by like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, dang, I'm ready to go home. This place ain't an all night thing. It's not a club. But he pulls up. He doesn't have a costume on. I have one on. I'm already vibing out. I've had a little drink in me. I've done, everything that I'm supposed to do, and I said I was going to do, not waiting for him, but I was like, I hope he has a good time when he comes. He brings the same guy that we smoked with earlier. When he gets there, first thing he does is, oh, where the weed at? I'm sorry, where the herbal essence at? I'm like, that's all you came for? That's all you came for? That's not what this was about. I told you specifically before you came that it was a part of the day, but it was not the entire moment. Enjoy yourself, have fun, mingle. He starts downplaying everybody that's there, saying that everybody there that's artistic is actually gay, talking about everybody that was there is crazy. I'm a part of a crazy culture. I need to find myself, and he knew that I was a crazy person. Now, I'm like, okay, you're giving me bad vibes. If you didn't want to be here, you don't need to be here. You can go ahead and go. And he was like, you can either come with me or you can stay here with these wild people. And I'm like, I'm going to stay here, but I'll walk you to your car. So I walk him outside, and they're not in his car. They're in his friend's car. Now, I didn't click in my head. I'm like, you wanted us to be so gung-ho about smoking with you earlier, but now you're in your friend's car. You know what? Cool. You probably wanted to pop out on something nicer than what you had. Cool. No problem to me. No stress off my shoulder. So he does that. He leaves. He calls me later, about an hour later, and was like, hey, what you doing after you leave there? I'm like, probably going to go home, smoke, and go to sleep. Now, the townhouse that I was living in, my vibe in that room, in that whole entire townhouse was, I was a hippie. My bed was on the floor. I had pillows surrounding my bed. I had rose petals always sprayed out on the floor. Candles everywhere. Dim lights. I had carpet on the walls. Now, if I think about it, carpet on the walls is kind of crazy. But I was just different. And I knew that the vibe that I created in my home was that of a person who comes home and is at peace. So I was like, I'm probably going to do nothing. Probably just smoke and then go to bed. He was like, oh, I could swing by later if you want me to, and I could smoke with you. I was like, cool, whatever. You can bring the stuff that you got, and we can chalk it up. So he comes by once I get home around midnight, 1 o'clock, and then we start smoking. I allow him to come over to my house, and we do what we're gonna do. And then from that moment on, he never leaves. He's like, oh, I'm just tired. I'm too tired to drive. I'm just gonna crash here. I'm like, okay, here goes a pillow. You can sleep downstairs. And here goes some covers. You can sleep on the couch. And he was like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that because I don't know what you got going on in here. And I'm thinking, you offered yourself. You invited yourself over here. You invited yourself to stay the night. And now you're saying that you're not comfortable sleeping in the place that you told me that you want to sleep. What in the hell are you talking about, bro? So my little dumb self and naive self was like, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. All right, just sleep on the floor in my room. So he does that. And then in the middle of the night, he tries to come in my bed. We already know what happened. I shouldn't have done it, and I did it anyway. That was irresponsible of me. I don't blame him for that because he was just doing what he felt like he was capable of doing, and I allowed it. So it was my fault for not having those boundaries. From that day on, he doesn't leave. We somehow end up in a relationship because he's there every day. And we never had the title, but he was just a person who I smoked with all the time, and he was just at my house. I'm running out of time, so like and comment, and then I'll take it to the next part. I'm going to make a playlist, so be patient. I'm trying to upload as fast as I can, but if you want to know the whole story, if you want to continue to watch, go ahead and follow me so that way you don't miss anything. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Bye!